All right, this is for those who were not able to join me in class today doing our pronoun lesson on intensive and reflexive pronouns. So if you were with us today, we went over how to tell the difference between these two types of pronouns. For those who weren't there, please be sure you check out the classroom site and grade your previous assignment. The answers were uploaded. Send me your scores. And then watch this. This is your new lesson. What is the difference between an intensive pronoun and a reflexive pronoun? We're going to tackle the intensive pronoun first. An intensive pronoun can be recognized because it ends in either the word self or selves if it's plural. So we're talking about pronouns such as himself, myself, themselves, yourselves, ourselves, all those words. So they're fairly easy to recognize. We're looking for a very specific ending. The key to the intensive pronoun is what it does, its function. The purpose of the intensive pronoun is to give emphasis to the noun it is following, the word that it is referring back to. Another word that I could use is to intensify, although I do tell you constantly as my students never to use the word itself to define itself, so saying that it intensifies is kind of a cop-out in its definition. An intensive pronoun emphasizes the noun that it is referring back to. At this junior high level in our grammar, I would tell you that an intensive pronoun does not have a grammatical function. Technically, when we get into the upper levels of grammar, if you're familiar with the term appositive, it can be labeled as an appositive. But otherwise, for your purposes right now, we're not going to be able to put a label on top of it. So take a look at this sentence right here. I myself prefer teaching to a live classroom. I enjoy the interaction of my students, so being forced to do this all online right now is really difficult. If we were to label this sentence, I is the subject, prefer is a transitive verb, teaching is the direct object, to a live classroom, that's a prepositional phrase, and I could label every word inside that prepositional phrase. Myself, though, is sitting there, and I can't put anything on top of it. It's giving emphasis back to the subject, I, who prefers to teach? I myself. So it's emphasizing I, but I can't put a label of like a direct object or a predicate noun or an object of a preposition on top of it. So it's intensive. Here's another one. Gabriella prefers learning via an online forum herself. Intensive pronouns always follow the word that they are intensifying, but they don't have to follow it immediately. They just have to be somewhere after it. So I can separate the pronoun from what it is intensifying by the entire rest of the sentence if I want to. So Gabriella is the subject here. Prefers is the transitive verb. Learning is the direct object. Via an online forum. I haven't checked it in the dictionary, but I'm 99% sure via is probably the preposition, which would make via an online forum a prepositional phrase. Herself. Herself is referring back to Gabriella. It is emphasizing Gabriella. It's not the direct object, the indirect object, or the object of the preposition. It's simply giving emphasis back to Gabriella. So again, it is an intensive pronoun. The reflexive pronoun, on the other hand, what does it look like? You're going to love this one. It also ends in self or selves. So they look exactly the same. Himself, myself, themselves, ourselves, yourselves. So how do we tell the difference between intensive pronouns and reflexive pronouns when they look identical? The key is in the function. A reflexive pronoun actually plays a grammatical part of the sentence. It will be either a direct object, an indirect object, or an object of the preposition. And, this is critical, it has to refer to the same thing as, it refers to the subject of the sentence. So it has to be fulfilling both parts of that rule in order to be labeled as reflexive. So in the sentence, I made myself a perfect cup of coffee. If I were to label this, I is my subject, made is the transitive verb. I made who or what? I made the cup. That's the direct object. To whom or for whom did I make this cup? Myself. Myself is the indirect object. So I fulfilled the first requirement. It's an indirect object. Who is myself referring to? I. I is the subject. So myself fulfills the requirement, both requirements of the reflexive pronoun. It is a reflexive pronoun, not just an intensive pronoun. That is your entire lesson for the day. So your homework was to do, hold on just a second while I find your book sitting here in front of me. Your homework was to do 11.9 and 11.10. Follow the instructions in the workbook, and then we will grade them on Wednesday. I will see you then. If you have questions on how to do the assignment, go ahead and send me a comment or contact me through Hangouts, and I will answer them for you. I look forward to seeing you guys in class on Wednesday.